Hey there, readers. My name is Marley, and welcome to another bookish video from me. Today I'm really excited because I'm going to be starting another reading vlog, which I do every month. And this month I decided to make my theme be an ARC reading vlog. And if you don't know, ARC stands for Advanced Reader Copy. So, a lot of booktubers get sent these early to give an advanced review to help promote the books. So there's this website called Kelley, and that is where I got all three of these books from. And I'm really excited because I've gotten a few ARCs in the past, but never enough at once to do a reading vlog. And all of these books are a little bit similar, as you'll notice. I was really craving a certain vibe when I was requesting these ARCs. And basically they're all going to be YA thrillers, which is kind of my thing. It's a genre I really enjoy. So I'm just going to quickly introduce you to these books. I'm not going to give a big description because, to be honest, each of them sound very similar. So that would just be repetitive. I'll just wait and talk about details once I get into each of them. But in no particular order, we do have For Found Dead by Natalie D. Richards. And this one comes out May 2nd, 2023, so just a few months away. I have never read from this author before. Then we have Someone Is Always Watching by Kelley Armstrong. This is an author I have read from before, but it has been years. I read some YA fantasy series from her when I was younger, and I absolutely loved them. But we'll see how this goes because it's been years and my taste back then was, not as refined as it is now. And I don't know how she is with thrillers. So this one should be interesting. Then we have Tell Me What Really Happened by Sedoti, who I've never heard of. I've never read any books from her, but again, you can tell there's a very similar vibe here for all these books. So let's see which of them is the best, which ones I would recommend. Oh, and I should say, Someone Is Always Watching comes out on the 11th of April this year, and Tell Me What Really Happened comes out on the 4th of April this year, just so you know. So yeah, let's hop into the vlog and I'll let you know my thoughts as I go. Hey guys, I am nearly 40% of the way through the first book, Tell Me What Really Happened. I don't really love the title, to be honest, but anyways, I am actually loving the book. It's going super quick. It's so easy to read, so fun, which is such a relief for me because the last book I read before this was A Court of Silver Flames, which was just really hard for me to get through. So it's really nice when it just doesn't feel like a chore to read a book, which is what's great about YA thrillers. They are always so fun like this. This one has a really cool concept, actually. I like how the author set it up in that it's written in like an interview style. So it's like an interrogation, a police interrogation room, and you'll see at the beginning of each chapter like a question that the police are asking them, and then we're hearing from 4 different teenagers, 2 boys and 2 girls, about their experience out camping. There's actually 5 friends that went out camping, and one of the girls is currently missing. So the remaining 4 teenagers are all getting interviewed, and it's really reminding me of Daisy Jones and the Six and how that book was set up. Ironic because the show just came out. I still need to watch it, but just the interview style and how like quick it is and how fun it is to read. It's always so funny when they're talking about the same experience, but you hear it from their different perspectives, and sometimes it doesn't all match up, which is always really funny, just hearing the different perspectives. But yeah, basically these 5 teenagers went camping in the woods. They all have kind of different relationships where like 2 of the people were dating. There was a girl and her stepbrother that she dragged along. This other girl that didn't really fit in with them. One of the girls is missing and potentially dead, as it normally goes. So we're trying to figure out the events of what happened. And of course, the girl that went missing, her name's Mei Lee, and she's that typical character that always goes missing or is killed, where she's super beautiful, she's kind of popular but also kind of mean, yet very like charismatic and all that. I feel like those characters are always the most interesting, I guess, to like go missing because they start so much drama, and all the characters could potentially have a motive for maybe wanting her to be missing or be dead. And it is funny reading books that take place in like current day as well, because that character Mei Lee was wanting to be a social media influencer. She's really pretty, she likes posting to social media, and so that was her like dream job, and it wasn't really working out. And I don't know, it's just kind of funny to read about books these days and how being a social media influencer is like an actual career path and stuff. But anyways, I'm really enjoying this book. There is also a talk of Bigfoot, which I think is just a red herring. I really doubt the book is actually going to reveal that Bigfoot is in these woods, but one of the characters is just really into cryptids and like conspiracy stuff, so he thinks that it was Bigfoot in the woods, and like he spotted this big footprint, and he brought along his thermal camera and thought he saw like a shape in the distance, like a big creature. And so there's little hints that like, oh, is it like a creature thing, like did she get like attacked and taken by Bigfoot? I really doubt it, but that's kind of a plot point in the book. So yeah, it's going pretty well, honestly. I wasn't expecting much, as I had not heard of this author before, but it's actually very funny, and I'm also very intrigued by what actually happened to Mei Lee and what the reveals are going to be. Finished Tell Me What Really Happened just moments ago, and I am pleased to say I actually really loved this book. It was so close to being a 5-star, to be honest. I really wanted to come on here and say that it was 5 stars, which I was not expecting, but I think it will probably only be a 4-star. But that being said, just really enjoyed it. The way I was enjoying it in my first update, in the first half of the book, really just continued. There were some things that I kind of expected to be revealed, and then there was some stuff that I wasn't expecting, but it wasn't like overly shocking. My insulin pump is expiring. I thought it was really interesting what happened. There was definitely social commentary throughout the book, which I liked. I think it always just adds an extra layer when there's some social commentary in thrillers and horror books. A lot to do with like privilege. I just feel like, you know, something like I could have used a little bit more from the ending, but I did overall just really enjoy this book. So I would definitely recommend, if you are into YA thrillers, checking this out, especially because of the different way that the story's told through the interview style, which I haven't really seen be done too much or ever. And yeah, I guess now this author is going to be on my radar. I don't know if her previous books have been thrillers or not, but I think I would definitely be open to reading more thrillers from her. As I said before, like there were some really like funny lines in this. There were some really good moments, especially with the one character, Petra, which is kind of like the type A character, the one that we'll see as like bossy and that kind of thing. I thought her character was very funny, and she was kind of self-aware and relatable. So yeah, I do feel like there was just a lot of things I enjoyed about this book. It is early in the day still, so I think I'm gonna hop into the second book maybe immediately. I think I might read, maybe I'll do the Kelley Armstrong one. You'll see in my next update. Okay, I'll change it. So thought I'd chime in here and say I always get the same order from Mr. Sub, which is a sub chain here in Canada. I don't think it's anywhere else. It's kind of like Subway, but better. Fight me in the comments. Anyways, I always get the same order since I was a child, a veggie and cheese sub, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things to eat. I'm very basic. And I decided this year I'm going to start getting different subs and not just my regular veggie and cheese. So I got a turkey sub. next step up from basic, but it was actually very good. Like it had that same Mr. Sub taste that I love, but it was like a little bit more to it. You know, there's actually meat on it. Anyways, just an update for me. I think I'm gonna hold off on updating on the book. I started Someone Is Always Watching. I hate that title. Very basic as well. No, I think I'm gonna hold off on my thoughts for a little bit longer. I think I'm only like 30% of the way in, and I don't fully have my thoughts figured out, my thoughts and feelings. But tomorrow I'm going into the office and I'm going to be reading on the subway most likely, and so I think tomorrow after work I will give my official first update for that book. Hi, so I am now over halfway through Someone Is Always Watching. I still am really on the fence about this book. I'll say overall it's not looking very positive for this, but first I have to talk about the plot of the book and what it's about. So I'll be honest, do not remember what the plot of this was going into it. I know I talked about it in my TBR video, but I don't remember it at all. So I actually want to look up what the description says on like Goodreads and stuff, just to kind of compare with what I'm experiencing or reading it, and just to see if like the description isn't really accurate. Okay, so it is pretty vague, and I think with this plot it has to be. So we're following our main character, Blythe. She's a teenage girl going to this sort of special prep school, and we are introduced to like a bunch of her friends. Honestly, it was a little bit like too many friends is what I was thinking, or they weren't really introduced in like a great way where I totally like understood who they all were. But she had this one friend in particular, Gabriella, who we are made to believe is like her closest friend, and basically she just has like a meltdown at school, and it ends up leading to the principal ends up being dead at their school. Don't want to get into spoilers, just kind of trying to base this off of the plot that's on Goodreads. But yeah, it says on here, Gabrielle's found bloody in front of their deceased principal. And then from there, it leads to kind of the characters starting to investigate. They're worried about their friend, obviously. Gabrielle seemed fine before. Suddenly, she had this meltdown. She's saying ominous things regarding her parents and things like that. Blythe and her friends, there's a bunch of them, mainly Tanya and Tucker, who are this brother and sister group. Not group, they're brother and sister. They are just worried about the friend, trying to figure out what's going on. The friend's been kind of taken away. Meanwhile, going with some other kind of tropes, our main character Blythe is also being emailed by an anonymous person claiming that there is this case, I'll just say a murder case, and they're claiming that she knows someone that was involved. There's this sort of background thing going on, a little bit all over the place. That's why I was like, what was the plot on Goodreads? Because I don't know how this could be wrapped up into like a little synopsis, because it's a little all over. As for the writing, I'm not exactly loving it. I'm not clicking with it. I'm wondering if it is more for someone who is younger. Like I said, I read her books when I was younger, so maybe I didn't notice kind of the flaws in them, or the fact that this is an arc. I've never read an arc and then read the final copy to notice like a difference. I just wonder like how many changes are normally made between an arc and the final, but I'll definitely be giving my feedback on this in case it can help with the final copy. I don't know how much that would help. I'm rambling. Anyways, I'm having issues with not loving the book. Like, I'm not feeling like I'm really, like, I'm just feeling like something's off with this writing, and there's some weird choices being made, and there's also some things that I just think are super obvious, and I don't know if they're supposed to be or not. That's kind of the main thing. I'm gonna be hopefully not too spoilery in this, but I'm just gonna say in Kelley Armstrong's previous series that I've read, they had a premise. So okay, I'll actually grab them. Kelley clearly has something she likes to write about, and you'll see what I mean. So in her first series, The Darkest Powers, this was my favorite back in the day. We're following these teens that get sent to this sort of home for troubled teens, like a mental health situation, and it turns out the twist is that they're actually all supernatural. So our main character is a necromancer, there's a werewolf, there's a witch, blah blah blah, and it's not actually a home for troubled teens, it's like a home for supernatural teens, and they're trying to either like experiment on them or something. The whole series is kind of them being on the run from this organization trying to do things to them. This takes place in the same universe. This is her second series, The Darkest something. The Darkness Rising. It takes place in the same world, and we're again following some teenagers in this town. Seems like a normal town, whatever, and you find out, no, it's more of a, again, I don't remember it as well, but I think it's another situation where they're actually watching these supernatural teens, experimenting on them or whatever, or just trying to like keep watch on them. This book is called Someone Is Always Watching, so you can kind of maybe tell that there's a similar theme here. So the fact that all these kids are going to this special prep school, all their parents are involved in this certain organization, I'm like, okay, you can kind of put 2 and 2 together and know that like these kids are being watched and they're there for a certain reason. They're not just normal kids. There's something going on. I figured that out, you know, from reading her previous books. I have the same idea, but also I just think it's very, very obvious, and I don't want to go into some of the reasons, but she kind of just reveals it to the reader, like that this is what's going on. And I don't know if that was, no, it was on purpose. I mean, she pretty much revealed it, like the twist that these kids are being like watched by the adults and there's some sort of experiment going on. Like, it's very obvious from the jump. So I'm just kind of like, okay, like, don't know how I feel about this being so like obvious. And then there's a whole anonymous messages that she's getting, and that's a thread I'm more interested in, and there is some intrigue there. I am wondering about some of the reveals with that plot line, but some of it I'm feeling is like a little bit obvious too. But I don't know yet, obviously, because I haven't got to the end, but there's certain identities, which I love an identity mystery, like who is this person, and we have all these suspects it could be. But I'm thinking, I don't know if she's gonna do this, but it could go really unhinged and have an incest storyline. Which I've seen other YA thrillers do it. I'm not gonna say which ones, obviously, but I'm like, is she gonna go for that? Because if she does, like, it's obvious, but I don't know if she's gonna go for that. There's also something I'm wondering if it's gonna get problematic, because there's a few, she's adding some diversity in here, right? There's some members of the LGBTQIA community, and I'm just wondering if it's gonna take a problematic turn. Like, there's certain twists I'm seeing in my head, and I'm like, is this gonna be the twist? Because I'll give feedback after, see if it happens or not. But there is an asexual character, and I'm just wondering if there's gonna be something with her character. A little bit confusing as well, because I was convinced that these two characters, Blythe and this other guy, I thought they were love interests. Like, I thought they were exes. Like, the way they were telling the story, I was like, oh, they used to date. And then just at this halfway point, she's stressing how they're just friends. And I'm like, oh, like, I'm kind of confused by how things are getting set up. I don't know if it's like that it's too much dialogue and not enough other stuff, and then a lot of it is just like saying instead of showing, telling instead of showing. I think that's a lot of what's happening in this as well. So there's just kind of some things that are off with me. It's not going to get the greatest rating from me, I don't think, but there's some things I'm still intrigued about with how it's going to wrap up, but it's just not really hitting, and this update's been too long and rambly, so I'm gonna leave it at that and wait till my final update for anything else. I don't want to spoil it. I don't know really how many people are gonna read it, but I'm trying not to spoil too much. I just think it's a little too obvious what's going on, but I don't know if it's, you know, it's meant for YA readers. Maybe that's why, but I'll come back when I finish. Alright, I am nearly 80% of the way through, and we got some reveals. We got essentially almost all the main reveals, if they're true, if they're to be believed, and nothing problematic like I was thinking, but also very much more boring than everything I was thinking. Like, I was thinking some really interesting twists, like, you know, the incest one, which obviously would not have been good, but it would have been interesting, but it's just pretty boring twists. So now our main character just got kidnapped, so that could lead to something more interesting, but I think I'm going to stop reading for the night and read the last 20% tomorrow. I hope it can get a little bit better. I hope it can be redeemed a bit, but I was not impressed with some of the reveals that just happened. I have finished Someone Is Always Watching, and I do have to say there was a reveal that surprised me. I do have to give it credit. There was something I wasn't expecting. Looking back, I probably should have, but I think I was just thinking of all these different theories that I kind of missed it. So I was impressed with that aspect. I think I liked that reveal for the most part. However, like still overall, it just felt very mediocre to me, or less than mediocre. Even stuff at the end, it almost didn't feel totally wrapped up, where I'm like a little afraid that they're gonna do a sequel. Hopefully not. I did kind of like the social commentary and like messages that it had. My biggest takeaway from it is that like people live up to the expectations that are put on them. So like if you treat a kid like they're a bad kid, they're gonna turn out to be a bad kid. You treat them like they're a good kid, more likely to be a good kid, kind of thing. So just you know, always I guess be kind to people and give them the benefit of the doubt and stuff like that. I guess it's kind of the message of Frankenstein, of like you treat someone like a monster, they're gonna become a monster, which tale as old as time. But anyways, I think I'm gonna end on a 2.5 for the rating. I might round it up on Goodreads to be 3 stars, but I think it's like a 2.5 for me. So definitely disappointing. And with that being said, I think I'm gonna take a little break from this vlog and read this other book that my friend wants me to read so we can talk about it. But in a few days, I will return to this vlog to read the final book, and hopefully we can end on a happier note. Hello vlog, I am back. I took a few days off to read a different book. For you guys, it's been like no time at all, 2 seconds. But anyways, I didn't film any b-roll, I suck. But I did go to the movies to see Scream 6, and I actually really liked it. I did not really like Scream 5. I was a bit disappointed, so I went into Scream 6 with low expectations, but I was pleasantly surprised. So just thought I'd mention that because I'm not doing my TV and movie reviews on here anymore. Anyways, I have been reading the third and final book for the vlog, For Found Dead by Natalie Richards. I don't know if it's just the mood I've been in the last day that I've been reading it, but I'm not really enjoying it. I have been in kind of like a negative mood, like very anxious, so that could be part of it. But I am at the halfway point right now, and feeling very meh about this, unfortunately, feeling like it might be another disappointment, but we'll see. We still have another half. Basically, the plot, to keep it very vague, a quick synopsis would be that we're following a teenager who works at a movie theater, and it's actually the last night this movie theater is running. It's going to be closing down, and there's a bunch of other teenagers that are working there and one adult who is like the manager, and then one of them ends up dead. And then it's kind of like a survival story, the rest of them trying to survive. And obviously the title spoils it a bit. We know that 4 of them are gonna end up dead. So that's it in a nutshell. That's why I was interested in it. I thought it could be like a fun, I thought it would be more of a whodunit than it is. Well, anyways, so I'll say something that turned me off from it is that it didn't seem like it was gonna be much of a whodunit like I thought, because immediately our main character is acting very afraid of her manager, who is this grown man, and I thought it was kind of weird because she was acting so afraid of him. I was like, why is she still working for him? Or like, how is he still here? She's acting like he's very like he's evil or something. And then she notices he has a gun. So I don't know if they're trying to make some commentary on like gun violence and stuff, but she doesn't tell anyone that he like has a gun. I thought it was weird, but okay, maybe that's what it is like in America. Like people are just have guns on them and you just kind of like look away. I don't know. And then, you know, we have the situation where the power goes out, things are a little bit chaotic, and one of the people does end up dead, but immediately they all think it is the manager. And it really was seeming like it was the manager, and I was like, this is very clear cut, kind of boring if it's literally just that this manager is evil and killing the kids. Like there's no mystery there's not a lot of intrigue. It's just kind of like, I guess, a slasher. And I was like, I didn't know this was like purely slasher vibes. I don't really like slashers in terms of books. I know I just talked about Scream. I still don't even love slasher movies that much other than Scream. But then we did get a little bit intrigued. I was like, oh, well, this other character is kind of suspicious. And then finally we're exploring that like, oh, maybe it was someone else. And I do think there was some sort of misunderstanding that we're gonna have to unravel. So I'm having a little bit more hope for it now. But the first bit, I was like, this is very just like cut and dry. Like there's this man killing them. So we have had a couple deaths so far, but I don't know. I'm just like, if it is this other person, that's obviously more interesting than it just being the manager, which is obvious. But even now, like if it's this other person, that's kind of obvious too. So I'm gonna have to see. Gonna have to see how it goes. This is definitely one of those books that's really just gonna depend on the ending, I think. But clearly it's not as good as, you know, it's not gonna be a 5-star or anything if I am not really feeling that into it. Wow, the surprising diabetes rap. My brother died when I was 7. Diabetes. finished the book. I'm all done for Found Dead. And you know what? I actually did like the second half a lot more than the first half. So that's why I'm wondering if it was really my mood that was affecting me. As I said, I wasn't in a good mood before. It's funny how your mood can just really affect how you feel when reading. But I've been in, you know, a better place reading the second half, and so I felt like it was a lot better. It definitely still is just that survival story. It's not really a mystery, although we had some reveals, some revelations at the end, which I appreciated, which made it good. The kind of action survival stuff I felt was better in the second half, and at the end of the day I was actually pretty connected with the characters. There were some romances in there, or like the main romance, which I liked. So as for rating, I'm a little conflicted, but I think I might give a 3.5. I'm not quite a 4 just because I was having those mixed feelings at the beginning. But yeah, so this was actually not too bad, but not really a standout for me either, but still relatively enjoyable, and I feel like I read it very quickly, like 2 or 3 days. So I guess that's going to wrap up the vlog. This definitely had mixed results as we saw. I really enjoyed the first book. What really happened? Now I'm forgetting what the title is. It was something like Tell Me What Really Happened. For Found Dead was definitely the second best, and then obviously we know Someone's Always Watching was definitely my least favorite. Let me know if you will be picking up any of these books, if I've convinced you, or if I've convinced you definitely not to. And yeah, this is going to be the end of the vlog. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you have not already. Do all the things. Follow me on Goodreads, all of that stuff. And I'll see you in my next video. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!